Thank you so much for joining us and congratulations on your prize.
Thank you, Ruby. Pleasure to be here.
Now, you developed a technique called Farmer-Managed Natural Regeneration. Can you just explain what that is?
So, across vast areas of the earth that were formerly forested and have been cleared, there remains this remnant, often living tree stumps or remnant seeds that have the capacity to regrow. We select the stems growing from those stumps, prune them, protect them, and then allow the local people to sustainably utilize them. So it's very, very simple, actually.
And what kinds of effects can this have on a landscape, and how long does it take to get results?
Well, you start to feel the results even in the first year, especially trees growing from stumps. They can grow very, very rapidly. And in the case of Niger Republic, West Africa, where I started this work, it has a very big impact, reducing extreme temperatures, wind speeds, putting organic matter back into the soil. And so it's a stimulus to agriculture. It creates a much better microclimate, greater soil fertility, and boosts crop yields and farmers' income. So it's had a very significant impact.
And as you say, you saw an opportunity to apply this technique while you were working in Niger, a country that has been subjected to a lot of land clearing, has a lot of degraded soil. How did you go about getting farmers there to take up your method?
So it took a while. They actually called me the crazy white farmer because this didn't make sense to them. They're already poor and hungry, and they couldn't conceive of this idea of growing trees on their valuable cropland. But walking alongside them, and I picked 10 volunteers from as many villages and asked them if they would be willing to experiment with me. And we'd learn from each other as we go and adjust it to meet their needs. And in time, as they saw crop yields increasing, their women didn't have to walk so far to collect firewood anymore, wild food started to come back and so on, their neighbours noticed, and it spread virtually from neighbour to neighbour.
That's incredible. And Tony, as well as crop yield increases, I imagine that this has flow-on effects, social benefits and economic benefits for these communities.
Oh yes, as much as I appreciate seeing the regreen landscapes, and it actually covers some 6 million hectares in Niger today, the biggest change that I saw was the restoration of hope. And if you could put yourself in the shoes of a parent who can't feed, clothe, or educate their children adequately, and all of a sudden, here's this simple solution literally at your feet, which empowers you to create that future that you want for yourself and your children. It was transformational.
And so elegant and so simple, as you say. Has this technique been picked up in Australia too?
So not in commercial farming. There are individuals who do it on a small scale, but it's applicable here if we adapt it to our own context.
And so what would that context be in Australia? How would that be different to Niger?
So here we're very mechanized. The price of labor is very high, but at the very least, we could do restoration on the borders of farmlands, on creek lines, on rocky outcrops, and there'll be very high environmental benefits, reducing temperatures, wind speeds, bringing biodiversity back. So it's doable, but I think a big education piece is needed.
And you're the principal climate advisor for World Vision 2, and I know that there's a big project underway aiming to restore 1 billion hectares of degraded land by 2033 using your method of natural regeneration. How is that tracking so far?
So it's very exciting. We have 4 what we call catalytic countries in Africa, and the aim is to influence policymakers, other non-government organizations, as well as implementing it through World Vision's own programs. And it's taking on very, very rapidly in these 4 countries. We're looking well beyond that. World Vision works in 100 countries, and it's starting to take root in 40 countries to date, but we hope to expand that.
Well, it's just a wonderful initiative. Tony Rinaudo, I can see why you have won this year's Luxembourg Peace Prize for outstanding environmental peace. Congratulations again, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ruby. Pleasure.